everyone, and welcome back to the Water Online Show, brought to you by Water Online, the leading online destination for the water wastewater market. This is a very special episode of our show, and what we're going to be talking about here today is really the top 5 thoughts of the month related specifically to water. What are people talking about? What do people need to know? What is top of mind of anybody and everybody? Engineers, operators, solutions providers, nearly the entire water and wastewater centric population. What are they talking about? What's top of mind? What can we help make sure is part of the conversation? We have 5 thoughts and 5 general subject matters that we want to cover today, but none is more important than what I have first on the docket here, which is none other than energy efficiency. So energy efficiency, when we think about municipalities and even in some industrial sectors, engineers and operators typically, and you can feel free to back me up on this at the Water Online, on the Water Online hotline or in the mailbox, but typically municipalities want to save on 3 things. We're talking about money, we are talking about energy, and we are talking about time. So let's talk about energy for a second. Energy efficiency and the way we define it, and as it's defined on Water Online recently in an article, is under the tagline of energy efficiency is not a sustainability initiative, it's risk management. So during Water Week last month, I couldn't help but notice that there's a framing problem on how the water sector talks about energy efficiency, and a guest column published on Water Online this week really nailed it. What the piece captured so well is that the industry still tends to treat energy reduction as a sustainability metric. While that framing may be useful for ESG reports, it positions energy efficiency as a secondary to core operational priorities, which is really dangerous and outdated kind of thinking. Electricity prices have risen structurally since 2021, and let me let everybody in on a little secret. They're not coming back down. U.S. wholesale prices jumped roughly 40% year over year in the first half of 2025. Meanwhile, data centers are competing directly with water utilities for grid capacity in the same regions, the exact same areas that our water stress is at its highest point. Every kilowatt hour a utility doesn't consume is one it doesn't have to buy, forecast, or hedge. At that point, energy efficiency is no longer a sustainability story. It's balance sheet protection. The guest column that we have on Water Online reinforces that point with real examples across a wide range of operating pressures, from direct potable use facilities in Flanders, Belgium, that cut energy consumption by, get this, 23% through a smarter system design, to an industrial facility in China that reduced energy use by over 50% in its highest pressure treatment stages. The lesson isn't limited to large desalination projects, though. These examples make it clear that the economics now work at every pressure level, and utilities that haven't reevaluated the numbers recently absolutely, positively must do so. Kevin, energy efficiency. Did I come on too strong, or is it not as important as I'm making it out to be?
No, it definitely is. First of all, hi, Travis.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey.
Yes.
What's
Sorry.
up?
I got started there on a rant because I feel really strongly about this, about how the narrative just isn't being framed correctly. So I forgot.
I'm just over here chilling.
I forgot to introduce the audience, even though everybody knows who you are anyway.
Good.
You're Mr. Worldwide here. So what thoughts on the energy efficiency subject that I just brought up?
Well, I won't quibble with, and this relates to your article on Water Online, which is very well done. Kudos to you.
Oh,
right?
well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
But you say energy efficiency is not a sustainability initiative. It's risk management.
Correct.
We're definitely stressing that second part now. And we want to draw a distinction from how we used to think about it. I'd like to still think about it as a sustainability initiative.
Of course.
We should always be kind of like worried about the environment.
We agree with that, right?
Yeah. So we want to keep doing that, but I think your main point is that whereas before, for your ESG rating or just because you care about the environment, like you would do your best to be energy efficient. But now you have to, because your business won't thrive. Your utility may not like be able to survive. You're seeing things get privatized now because, we got to keep the cost of our services low, but at the same time, everything's going up in cost, as you mentioned. So now energy efficiency, you need it to survive.
Yep.
And that's the distinction. And that is something that's changed. And as you sort of referenced, I don't see it going anywhere going forward. Like with the rise of AI, it's not, that's just going to get crazier and crazier. It costs all these data centers a lot of energy. Population continues to grow. So really, you need to figure out ways to be more efficient, energy efficient. And thankfully, there are plenty of solutions out there to do that.
Without a doubt. You mentioned two very scary words in this industry, which is data centers and the coming of data centers. They're on their way. They're being built all over the place. And then you also mentioned the two scariest letters in water. AI. Yeah, but it's also cool, but we just gotta, we gotta be wary of what's coming down the pike with it, you know? Exactly. Awareness.
The repercussions,
right? Which leads to awareness, which awareness cures almost all ills as long as you're prepared for it, right? You had mentioned something there that's interesting because it goes into the next point that I want to make. You mentioned the economy. Nothing's getting cheaper, right? And it's been that way for how many consecutive years, right? This is not a new phenomenon.
Right.
But at the same time, this is an election year. And for those folks who like numbers, the 2026 value of water index dropped some genuinely striking data this week. So I'm about to wow you with some data. And again, I want to reiterate that, that inflation and costs have been going up for years. So this isn't just because it's all of a sudden a revelation here in 2026, but the survey of more than 1,000 voters, 92% rated reliable water access as very or extremely important, placing it in a dead heat with reducing inflation and the cost of living as the top national priority. Let that sink in. Water infrastructure isn't a niche policy concern anymore. It is Main Street kitchen table economics. Kev, this was striking to me. There's a lot more of this that I want to go through, and then I want to get your input.
Okay. But it wasn't as striking to me, but looking forward to.
Well, the numbers weren't as surprising, but
cutting it up with you.
The fact that it is as important as inflation, which is all we hear about for the most part, and have for years, that it's on the same wavelength. I didn't even know if it'd be in the same ballpark just based on awareness. But what's even more striking, more than a quarter of those surveyed said that their water service is unaffordable. 1 in 4 people can't afford their water.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It's the highest level recorded since the survey began. So when you have constituents and U.S. citizens that are not able to afford their water, that is a big deal for this market. And yet 78% still support directing more state and local funding towards water infrastructure. That's not 50-50. It seems like everybody, and we're in agreement here too as well, that we need more funding going directly to state and local funding for water infrastructure. I think that's universally accepted as a truth, right? It tells you that voters are willing to pay for this. They just want to know the investment will make a difference. For utilities, this message is clear. For all of you out there, listen, communicate what investment buys. The public is going to back you. What thoughts on that, Kev? Am I way off? I mean, those numbers are striking, aren't they?
Yeah, the numbers are striking. And yeah, it's upsetting that 1 in 4 say it's unaffordable. But I guess my thought was that, like, if someone came to you and asked you if water was important, how many people are going to say no?
That's true.
And it's kind of like, does inflation concern you? A lot of people, that hits their pocketbook. Would they rather pay more or less? I think they'd all, what do we get? It's right there at like 92%. Who are the 8%, really?
Yeah.
But,
let's see if we can get them on the show, because I'd like to know what they're thinking. How reliable water access isn't very important, but go ahead.
And then someone asks you, is safe drinking water important? Is your water service important to
Right.
you? And you say, of course.
Yep.
Now I wonder if, like, I don't think they are equal when they walk into the voting booth.
Yeah.
If someone put water on the ballot, maybe.
Yeah.
If there was a candidate that said I'm for water and the other candidate said I'm for reducing inflation, which one do I think would win? I think probably the inflation one.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I guess my whole point here is that it's all in the way it's phrased. And I think most people, if you ask them about the importance of their water service, you're going to get 92%. The difference being like, okay, are you willing to pay more when, so many already say it's unaffordable?
Yeah.
I mean, they say they want more state and local funding going towards water infrastructure.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily raise my rates or my taxes. I think what it really means is prioritize water infrastructure more. And that's what our leaders need to do.
Yeah.
So if you have this pot of money that you gain through tax revenue or whatever, prioritize water infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's a bipartisan issue. Everybody agrees. So yeah, that's where I stand on that.
So
I'm not surprised by the high numbers, but I just hope that,
well, let me put it to you this way. So take the framing of the questions and put that aside, and let's talk about what we think is being said if we could translate, right? So I think it's just as important, right? And I understand that they say that it's just as important as the survey says, but this comes out of the article that Water Online put out, that we put out after the Water Week press conference, where we heard from municipalities and utilities about their ability to raise rates, but as long as they were communicating with their constituents, with their customers, a lot of those increases were seen as beneficial. So all of a sudden, what's unaffordable becomes affordable because they're clear on what they're getting for their money. Yeah. Secondarily to that, if you're communicating and in contact with your constituents and your clients and your customers, you're going to be able to identify if that is a real problem, if it is truly unaffordable, and create programs that make it affordable for those that need it. DC Water did this. They did it, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. So it is possible, but the last part of what I said, I think is important to understand, separate and distinct of the framing of the questions. Water doesn't have a problem with communication so much as it does with the PR. So communication between utilities and their customers is not just lacking. In many cases, it's almost non-existent. So of course, when rates go up, if those customers don't know what they're getting, why they're going up, if they're just going up arbitrarily because the government wants more money, that's hardly ever the case. They're going up because there's some innovation and treatment options that are going to help the utility and municipality deliver good, clean, safe water. That just needs to be communicated better, right? I mean, so the economy, yes, does play a role, but communication plays a role in that as well. So now I'm going to mention two letters that I said in the beginning were scary, and they shouldn't be, because this is exciting. It's just a question of how can you utilize it to best serve your clients, your customers, and the municipality for which you work. And those two letters are, of course, AI. Nice. Yes, exactly. AI in the water business. So let's stop chasing the tool and start building the foundation. The AI conversation in our industry has a little bit of a hype problem. And an article this week from the engineers at Central Valley Water Reclamation Facility on Water Online offered one of the most grounded takes I've read on how to cut through it all. Their core insight is simple. Here it is. I'm going to give you the secret sauce, the code word, anything you need to figure this out in one sentence. Utilities that jump straight to AI software without the right foundation almost always fail to get meaningful results. Isn't that the whole point of AI, to get meaningful results? Right?
I think so.
I think so too. I'm going to call them the CVWRF, the Central Valley Water Reclamation Facility. That's what I'm talking
I
about.
think the acronym is even hard to say.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
But I love having utilities, contribute articles. That's great to hear right from the people on the front lines.
And that's part of what we do here at Water Online. We try to get input from all facets of the industry, all facets of the business, and input from utilities is vitally important to keeping the communication flow open so that we all succeed as an industry as a whole. What they learned this firsthand as early analytics investment stalled, not because the technology was wrong, but because the data infrastructure, the system integration, the organizational alignment weren't there to support it. Their response was to reframe AI adoption around 4 pillars. And here we go. List of important. This is so important that it took all of the power out of the studio.
Energy efficiency.
Energy efficiency, right.
Well, I think we need it though. There we go.
Now the spotlight is back on. I'm going to give you the 4 pillars. Here we go. Data and digital infrastructure. Again, these are the reframe AI adoption around 4 pillars: data and digital infrastructure, workforce and culture, smart capital project planning, and starting small before scaling. The last one, in my opinion, is the most important. What I find most compelling is that this capital project angle. Rather than waiting for a dedicated quote unquote AI project, they have been weaving digital readiness into standard infrastructure upgrades by deploying smart devices or modernizing switchgear or improving sensor connectivity so that the foundation is already in place when the analytics layer arrives. That's exactly the right instinct for a sector where capital cycles are long, very long, and budgets are tight. I mean, we've said here 100 times, Kev, we have never come across an overfunded utility or municipality.
Mm-hmm.
The AI opportunity in water is real. It only pays off for utilities, though, willing to do the unglamorous infrastructure work first. How far off on that am I?
I think you nailed it. Because our friends at Central Valley Water Reclamation,
they are awesome, by the way.
Yeah,
they are awesome.
And they lived it.
Yep.
And they did the research and they wrote about it. And so I trust everything they say. Like you, when I look at the 4 pillars, some stand out. And
hit me.
And I agreed with you, starting small before scaling, and also workforce and culture were mentioned, because the water industry has been accused of being slow to adopt new things, innovations and whatnot. There are reasons for that, but it's not entirely untrue either. So
correct.
And AI can still be a little intimidating.
Yep.
So you really have to introduce it in a way that makes your workforce comfortable, and make it part of the culture. And then starting small, like, whoever has dabbled in it had to take that first, like, hey, what's this all about? Let's try it out and get a little more comfortable. You start to realize what it can do. And then, and then you can build the other 2 pillars were data and digital infrastructure and capital project planning. So, I mean, once you realize the power of AI and you start to understand its capabilities and you research, like, through planning, what we can make this do for us and how it can improve our utility operations and our service and all that. I mean, it starts to get, like, really fascinating and cool. You get excited about it. And
yes,
you follow through with these 4 pillars and boom, you're probably going to be running better.
It's time to get excited about it. It really is. I mean, it's here to stay, and it's going to change the game for everything that it touches, which is pretty much every industry, right? So it's here. Let's be smart about it, though.
Yeah, I mean, there are different versions of AI. There's like basic AI, and then generative AI, agentic AI.
Look at you as the AI master here, man.
Stop.
So
I'm just saying, like, as AI, we always got to check them.
Yeah.
We need the humans in there to check the work.
That will never stop.
That will never stop.
Right. We will always need a human element for these issues and for related to those pillars.
Too important not to.
Without a doubt, especially when we're dealing with trying to provide the world's most precious resource, which is safe water to citizens and customers. Well, Kev, back to the economy. I don't want to bring us down. I know we just had a lot of energy going into AI, but we're going to go back to the economy, right? And the kitchen table stuff. So everything costs more. Water's no exception. That's a truth. The J.D. Power 2026 U.S. Water Utility Residential Customer Satisfaction Study, that is a mouthful, and I didn't even know that existed. But
come on, man.
Yeah, so there's apparently a J.D. Power. They don't just do like the cars and stuff. 2026 U.S. Water Utility Residential Customer Satisfaction Study. It landed this week. It dropped. I know you all have been waiting for it. It's finally here, and the headline is better than expected. Here's why. Overall, satisfaction rose 8 points year over year, despite average monthly water bills holding near a record high of, get this, $100 a month for water. Now, for those of us in the industry, we may think like, wow, that's pretty cheap, right? Like that's not a high cost at all, considering how much it actually costs to provide clean, safe water. But for residents and customers that aren't used to that, and in the economy that we're in, that's a pretty big amount of money to spend for something that, was it Kanye that said that water was free at one of his concerts?
Did he?
Was it?
I don't know.
I think it might have been.
You got me on that one.
Or it was either Jay-Z or Kanye. I can't remember which one, but
get your pop culture.
All right, exactly. I got to get my pop culture straight before I start accusing people of saying wrong things about our most precious resource. What I find most interesting is how utilities are improving customer sentiment. So that goes back to the communication thing that we talked about earlier. They aren't winning customers back by cutting costs because in most cases, they can't do that without compromising operations or facing a backlash elsewhere. Instead they're doing it through improved communication, explaining charges in plain language, offering flexible payment options, and engaging customers when problems arise. At the same time, the gap between the highest and the lowest ranked utility grew to 219 points on a 1,000-point scale. That is a massive spread, and it tells you that the best practices are still far from evenly distributed across the industry. If your utility is on the wrong side of that gap, the path forward likely isn't a rate reduction, but a customer engagement strategy. People will pay for service that they trust. There's no doubt about that. We've talked about how communication and PR is an issue between utilities and their customers. Kevin, what say you?
I think it goes back to communication thing you talked about before.
Yeah.
That gap isn't so surprising to me in that, you probably have on the one side a utility that's doing great and also telling their story about what they're using your money for, and and you have no issues with your water, you love it, and boom, you get a great score. And then these are few and far between, thankfully. But if water utility is failing you, you're have boil water notices all the time and stuff like that. You're basically going to get a 0 because I equate utilities to like offensive linemen. If you never hear their name, they're probably doing a great job.
That's it. Like referees.
Right.
Yeah.
And once you know their name, once the announcer mentions it, it's probably because they, gave up a sack or whatever.
I have a cup
call or something like that.
I have a couple of referees in the Big Ten I'd like to call it, but I won't do it.
Right. So Penn State guy over here.
You know who you are.
Yes. So, utilities too often are only delivering bad news. So, and that's why we're talking about communicating all the good things that you're doing. And that's why they would be willing to spend more money, because we said that citizens, voters, everybody understands the value of water. So if that's what you got to do, I mean, you'd be willing to pay more and cut somewhere else, because water is not something you can skimp on.
Ever.
Yeah. So, the satisfaction, I think it does come down to service. Yeah,
no doubt. It does come down to service and communication. So, lastly, the last thing I want to talk about here on the list that I have is, I think we're talking about infrastructure all wrong. And here's what I mean by that. The talent crisis is the hidden infrastructure problem. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have aging infrastructure in terms of pipes, distribution models, different types of technologies and engineered systems within treatment plants. I'm not saying that isn't aging or that isn't a problem or that doesn't need to be addressed. It absolutely 100% needs addressed, period. I just sort of want to peek behind the curtain here and add something to it. There's a talent crisis within the infrastructure problem. There's a workforce story in the water industry that doesn't get the headlines it deserves. And another guest column this week on Water Online put it plainly. The sector has evolved from a mechanical industry into one driven by software and data, but the workforce pipeline hasn't caught up. Here's what I mean. Every utility and municipality over the next 5 to 10 years, if it hasn't started already, is going to start down the path of digital transformation, analog to digital. Some of the associations that are able to be at the forefront of that to help utilities navigate that is SWAN, the Smart Water Network Forum. AWWA has done a lot to adhere and teach the basics of some of this digital transformation. WEF has done the same. So there is help there. There is guidance there, but it is an issue that I think needs to be brought up right alongside the infrastructure issue, with nearly half of water and wastewater plant operators aged 45 or older, and roughly a third eligible.
Not that old.
Yeah, I mean, they're young, but still, right? At the same time, this is something new. New is different for everybody, right?
I'm kidding, because we're older than that, you know.
We are?
Can't be old.
We are? I don't know. I mean, I certainly don't feel like it, but that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
But roughly a third are eligible to retire within a decade. We're staring at a generational transition that many utilities are not fully prepared for. To take it a step further, because I like to take things to the edge and take it as far as I can here, the new workforce demands extend far beyond traditional operations roles. Utilities increasingly need data scientists, cybersecurity specialists, automation engineers, and digital systems designers, all of whom are being aggressively recruited by nearly every other technology-driven sector. That is a lot of competition for what is considered really not the most glorious industry to go into, historically speaking. I, for one, and a lot of us out there, that a lot of you out there listening, know just how important this industry is, and it can be as glamorous as we make it. But historically, the water industry has relied heavily on recruiting from within. But that approach is not going to be able to fill the gap at the scale or speed that is now required. And the solution can't be just another hiring campaign. At every level, the industry needs to rethink. And again, here we go, Kev, better communicate what a modern career in water actually looks like. Like, make water cool again, man. Like, make it something that younger generations, those going through secondary educations, high school, post-high school education, can train for, want to work towards. The work is technically sophisticated. It's socially essential and increasingly impactful on a global scale. We just haven't done enough to tell that story. Kev, again, am I just going off on a tangent here? Am I way off on that? Or do you think I'm somewhat close on the actual need for this?
No, you're right on need. And everything you said is spot on, to the point where, like, you stole my thunder. That's what I was thinking.
Did I steal your line?
Maybe. Well, I mean, you mentioned that every other, the types of roles that you mentioned, data scientists, cybersecurity specialists, etc.
Yeah.
They're being recruited by every other technology-driven sector, but isn't every sector now going to be technology-driven? So it's just about everybody.
Yeah.
So how do you get them to water? It is a rewarding field. Here's where I think we can win, because the rising generations.
Solve this problem, Kevin. You're up. Solve it.
I don't know what we're at. We're Gen Y. I think
we started over the alphabet again. I think we're on like Generation A. I do. I think Generation A is being born now. Okay.
This way, the younger generation.
Yeah.
The one who are the next generation of the workforce.
Yeah.
They're very socially conscious. They care about people on the planet. So I think you have to appeal to that sensibility.
Yeah.
Because of how important water is. And so, you may be able to make more of a buck somewhere else rather than working for a public utility.
Yeah.
But I think they could prioritize, the need for water above that. And also what you said, like communication, getting into schools, maybe offering like water centric, utility centric jobs as like a major at universities.
Right.
Go to high schools, go to community colleges.
Exactly.
We did a pod once with, remember the one with HopeWorks and American Water got together, and
that's what they do.
They went into Camden and they recruited a bunch of kids. I can say that.
Young professional.
And they started working for them and built careers like that.
And they're doing awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
So
shout out to HopeWorks. I know that Veolia, who manages a number of local municipalities and utilities in the Northeast of the United States here. Some of the things that their utilities do is they invite elementary school kids for field trips.
There you go.
Right? Like start them early, man.
Yeah. I mean, because, most people you talk to outside of our industry.
Right. The outsiders
don't have one iota of knowledge about how it's done, how the sausage is made. You know?
Right.
So if you teach kids like the process, bring them into the plan or whatever.
Yeah.
It's actually quite fascinating.
Sure.
Exactly.
I agree with you, man. I mean, there's a number of steps you can take, but the most important step is the first one, right? So let's start getting everybody involved in this very exciting, very important industry a lot earlier than we traditionally have. So there you have it. Those are the top 5 things top of mind of the industry right now here in May 2026. There's going to be a lot more to talk about next month, but we wanted to cover a lot of the basics here and a lot of the things that were top of mind for you, our listening and viewing and audience here at Water Online. The real takeaway from this month's conversation of water: the future of the industry won't be defined by one technology or one regulation or one crisis. It's going to be shaped by how utilities adapt. That's the important part. Financially, digitally, culturally, energy efficiency is becoming an economic survival. Public trust is now just as important as infrastructure investment. AI only works when the foundation underneath is solid. Customer communication matters as much as operations. And perhaps, and most importantly, the next generation workforce may be the biggest infrastructure challenge of them all. Let's meet that challenge head on. The water sector is no longer operating quietly in the background. It is becoming very quickly central to conversations about resilience, affordability, technology, and national priorities. And if this month proved anything, it's that the utilities willing to evolve now will be the ones best positioned to lead what comes next. So let's get started now. We look forward to seeing you back here on the Water Online Show next time in June for the latest updates, latest headlines, latest topics to talk about. On behalf of Kevin Westerling, I am Travis Kennedy. We cannot wait to see you back here on the Water Online Show next time.